in the end.
Going into the end of the 5th generation of games, there was one name when it came to wrestling games that ruled the N64, Aki Corporation. Aside from a couple Japan-only wrestling games, they had several worldwide smash hits on the console with WCW vs. NWO World Tour, WCW NWO Revenge, WWF WrestleMania 2000, and their magnum opus on the N64,
WWF No Mercy.
Meanwhile, on the PlayStation side of things, you had Yuke's, who had only 2 WWF games under their belt, SmackDown 1 and 2, both of which were also well received. THQ's partnership with Aki came as a result of the WWF ending their Acclaim partnership due to the reception of the 2 WCW games Aki made. This partnership was not meant to last, though. This is despite the rumors that a sequel known as WWF Backlash, a game that would have been the swan song of N64 wrestling games, but it never actually existed. In March 2020, on an episode of the Talk Shit podcast, Sanders Keel, the THQ producer behind No Mercy and other games like it, disproved the rumors confirming Backlash never existed since THQ had no more plans for wrestling games following No Mercy. Aki did a couple PS1 wrestling games, but moved to the N64 shortly after. This is where Yuke's came in to fill the void for the PS1. With Aki's success, EA wanted a piece of the action since the WCW games they made weren't well received, and with Aki's desire to work on PlayStation systems, plus THQ going full in on the Yuke's relationship, a void was going to be felt. EA wanted Aki to do a sequel to WCW Mayhem called WCW 2000, later titled WCW Mayhem 2 for the PS2. But when WWF bought WCW, that game was scrapped, and the engine was recycled for Def Jam Vendetta. Meanwhile, with more WWF/WWE games planned for the 6th generation of consoles, there needed to be a void filled on GameCube. Enter WrestleMania X8. This game goes back to the WrestleMania naming convention since WrestleMania 2000. This was also the first of 4 WWE games done by Yuke's on the GameCube. But to still give it that Aki feeling, several former members of the Aki games were brought on to help not only retain part of that Aki feeling to help distinguish it from Yuke's PS1 SmackDown games, but they also wanted to take advantage of the GameCube's improvements over the N64. With Yuke's at the helm and THQ publishing, WrestleMania X8 was released on June 10, 2002 for North America, September 6, 2002 for Japan, and September 27, 2002 for Europe. This game was also interesting because it was completed before the WWF's lawsuit with World Wildlife Fund, but it was released after the lawsuit. So the packaging was revised to reflect the WWE logo, though the in-game branding of WWF is still there, sans the Raw and SmackDown fist stages. Also, all PAL, Japan, and North American Greatest Hits copies replaced Steve Austin with The Rock on the cover since Austin walked out at the time. But enough about that. What about the game itself? Let's take a look. WrestleMania X8 has several modes of play. You've got your standard exhibition mode, Path of a Champion, and Battle for the Belts. The exhibition mode will let you do any match type you want. Singles, tags, handicaps, triple threats, fatal four-ways, battle royals, and royal rumbles. You also have variations for the first 5 options. These include hardcore, cage matches, TLCs, Hell in a Cell, etc. Not every option will be available for every match, but there's still a good amount of variety to keep you busy. Battle for the Belts will let you challenge for any fictional belt featured in the game. Some of them do resemble real title belts, such as the XPW World Heavyweight Championship, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. You get the idea. You can go for title shots or unify the belts. It's also the only way to go for the WWF Women's Championship, since that belt does not appear in Path of a Champion mode. You can even go for the Smoking Skull and Brahma Bull belts if you want to, just for the hell of it. You can challenge both computer and human opponents in this mode, and you can customize a belt via name changes and the color. But you can't create new belts though, nor can you unlock anything in this mode. It's just here for fun. The real way you're going to unlock stuff is the Path of a Champion mode. Path of a Champion is an arcade-like mode that will take you through a set of matches, then at the last stage, you challenge the champion, beat them, and you win that championship. There are 6 championships to go for in this mode. They include the Heavyweight, Intercontinental, European, Hardcore, Light Heavyweight, and the Tag Team titles. Each has their own set of opponents and different matches for you to go through, but the idea is the same across all of them. Going through each of these paths unlocks a new character. Each respective path mentioned unlocks Chris Benoit, Vince McMahon, Ric Flair, Rhino, Raven, and Stacy Keibler. Also, if you win the heavyweight title with The Rock, you can unlock the original SmackDown arena. Pick your character, and you're on your way to fame and glory. Wrestlemania X8's grappling system won't feel that far off for those familiar with the Aki N64 games. Each wrestler has 5 grapples in the front, rear, and other various ones for evading and grappling, which is useful for countering certain moves. This is a very important part since the gameplay itself can get very intense. Different buttons can counter different moves, which allows you to switch up your variety of moves. As you keep attacking successfully, you'll fill up a meter that, when it gets full, you'll gain a finisher. You can have up to 3 at any given time. When you have a finisher, you can hit A and B at the same time, and if done correctly, your wrestler will hit their finisher. And sometimes, depending on in a different position that they're in, they may actually have a different one. Like, if you basically hit A and B with someone down in the center as The Rock, he'll do the people's elbow. So that, pin them and win. Or will you? Well, it's complicated. You see, next to the finisher meter, you may have noticed something. There's a colored bar that switches depending on how you're doing in the match. When it's red on your side and blue on the opponent, a pinfall will be guaranteed no matter what. But sometimes this isn't always the case. Sometimes the meter will be orange, your opponent's meter will be green, you won't even hit a finisher despite being stored, or you can hit the finisher basically, they'll find a way to get up, I'll be a bit staggered, you'll hit a standard throw on them like a suplex or something, and you can still pin them. You think the hectic nature ends there, my friends? It gets worse. Try surviving tag matches and multi-man matches and see how long you last before you start swearing like AVGN, accidentally hitting someone you didn't mean to hit, and then basically having 2 against you as a result, getting caught up in other people's weapon attacks when not meant for you, pinfalls and submissions being broken up in the most hectic ways, target switching all the time because you either hit someone you didn't mean to, and vice versa, etc. Not to mention your opponent slides when getting pinned, which I don't understand, and it can lead to rope breaks happening when they shouldn't, especially in multi-man matches. If I was to point out every dilemma over this, we'd be here all day. At least when you're playing against normal human players, you can have gentlemen's agreements and shit like that to prevent this very thing from happening. It's also not so bad when doing singles matches. But when playing in single player against AI, good luck! The AI has a mind of its own, and even on easy, it can get so hectic, the AI will make you its bitch worse than John Romero could ever hope to. This wouldn't even be a problem, except for the fact that the game loves to throw several multi-man matches at you in Path of a Champion mode, particularly in the latter half. I've seen up to 4 of these at any given time, in a row. It makes the whole thing feel inconsistent. Sometimes you can win ladder matches in 1 minute, other times it will take you 10. Sometimes you get lucky, other times not. And considering you need to go through this mode to unlock the majority of stuff in-game, good luck! At least the game controls fine for the most part. There may be a lot of moves to grasp in different situations, but it's easy enough to pick up on and understand. Countering, though, is a bit more difficult. Not so much countering itself, but when you actually know you did it successfully, which also further adds to the frustration of it all. You counter strikes and weapons with R, and grapples with L. L and R together counters finishing moves. You have to time it right though, or it won't work, and sometimes it just doesn't work, period. You can actually vary up your strikes by tapping B for light and holding it for stronger, as well as different directions depending on the control stick direction. Picking up and using weapons works fine. You can easily control your tag partner to attack the non-legal wrestler while you pin your opponent, in addition to setting up partners for tag moves. Ringside and apron attacks work well, turnbuckle and running moves work well, and all other basic moves work as they should. It's just the countering system that's more inconsistent. The graphics do look pretty good for an early GameCube game. The detail in the models of the wrestlers is especially improved over their N64 versions. Models have 3,500 polygons, and they look damn good as a result. The bodies, faces, outfits, it just looks good. All arena backgrounds and the like are well modeled after their real-world counterparts, and you really do feel like you're in the action of it all. Even the animations for moves and taunts and things like that look good, and varied from wrestler to wrestler. Weapons also look fine, but not as good as some other objects, though the crowd still doesn't really look that great. But since they're mostly in the background, you won't really notice that much, at least the further away crowd members. Up closer, they do look a little better, but they still look like the finish line crowd sprites seen in Cruisin' USA. Oh well, still the game looks fine enough and does its job well here. The sound for the game is above average. The music itself is very adequate. It has that turn of the millennium techno feel not too far off from the first 3 SmackDown games. It's neither the best of the best nor the worst of the worst. You might get a couple songs stuck in your head, or rather parts of songs, but that's it. Though I will say the create a wrestler music is very chill and the kind of thing you want when creating a wrestler. Sound effects for attacking, hitting the man in the ring, hitting objects outside of the ring, weapon attacks, and other things like that sound as they should. Maybe not as impactful as later WWE games of this kind, but again, it works just here fine. There's not much actually in terms of voice acting. There's no in-game commentary of any kind, and the only voice you hear is the ref counting to 3 upon pinfalls or rope breaks when those happen. In terms of replayability, aside from the other wrestlers and original SmackDown ring to be unlocked, you can unlock the Wrestlemania X8 arena by using all default arenas at least once in exhibition mode. There is also one last arena, the Royal Rumble 2001 arena, but that is a pain in the ass to unlock, because you need to win any 30-man, one-player Royal Rumble match with any character. But the way the Rumbles work in this game, you can't select where to enter, nor can you choose who enters. You will always start in the first 4. Combined with the hectic nature of the game in multi-man stuff, and how much of a pain it is to eliminate others as a result, I never unlocked the Royal Rumble 2001 arena, because I couldn't get far into the match. And no, this is not like other Yuke's WWE games where you can jump in with another superstar in the event you get eliminated. When you're out, just like the real match itself. Other than the Battle of the Belts mode, which is just there for fun, you have the Create a Wrestler mode. I don't think I need to get too much into this, basically, since if you've even played one Create a Wrestler mode in a wrestling game, you've kind of sort of played them all, but I don't know, you be the judge. It might not be as expansive as others, but it works, and it can be fun. Wrestlemania X8 was a decent starting point for GameCube wrestling games. Yuke managed to take parts of the Yaki formula while applying their own flair to it, and as a result, we get a decent wrestling game that looks fine, plays well, sounds alright, and a small amount of replayability. But the game itself can get very hectic when playing against AI and tag, and multi-man matches, not to mention the countering system doesn't always work the best. The Battle of the Belts mode doesn't have much going for it, and it can suck to unlock the 2001 Royal Rumble arena without a cheat device or save states in Dolphin. I would say this is easier to recommend if you have people to play it with you, either locally or net play on Dolphin. There is still a decent amount of single-player content to boot, but you better be ready for multi-man and tag matches, because oh brother, those are rough. Still, there is fun to be had here, and the game is one of the more affordable GameCube exclusives as of now, going for about $15 complete in box, $6 for Japan and PAL users, so yeah, seems like an alright go. I give Wrestlemania X8 a 3.5 out of 5.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, click the big red button below to subscribe. Check out the other links in the description for more cool stuff, and check out the playlist on screen for more content. See you in the next video!